Welcome back to the deep dive. It is Friday, February 13th, 2026. And look, I'm going to level with you right out of the gate here.
Okay.
Usually I bounce into the studio, I've got my coffee, I've got my notes, and I'm ready to just tear into whatever topic we've got.
You are usually the high energy one, yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Whether it's supply chain logistics or 19th century philosophy, I'm usually buzzed. Today.
Yeah.
The vibe is different. I don't know if it's the date, Friday the 13th, very auspicious, or if it's specifically what I spent the last 48 hours reading.
Yeah.
But I feel drained. I think drained is the word. I barely slept last night.
You mentioned before we started recording that you kept checking the corners of the room.
I know how that sounds. I really do. I know it sounds melodramatic. Our listeners know we've covered true crime, we've covered existential risks, AI apocalypses.
Some really dark material.
Right. But this source material, it feels radioactive, like physically dangerous to have on your Kindle.
I don't think you're overreacting. We are looking at a manuscript today. Technically a novel, but I think grimoire might be the more accurate classification.
Grimoire, yeah.
Titled Rootraces by an author named Joshua Blake. And to call it heavy is doing a disservice to the word. It is conceptually aggressive.
Conceptually aggressive. I like that.
Yeah.
It's a very polite academic way of saying this book wants to eat you.
Well, when you look at the structure of it, that's not entirely a metaphor.
No, it really isn't. So, for everyone listening, let's set the table. On the surface, Rootraces looks like a genre mashup.
Right.
You've got your hard-boiled noir detective, stuff rainy streets, whiskey, cigarettes. Then you smash that into supernatural horror monsters, slime, cults.
All pretty standard on its own.
Yeah, but then,
Yeah.
and this is where my headache started, it twists into this metafiction where the book is aware that you are reading it.
It's a violation of the contract.
The contract, what do you mean?
The unspoken contract between a reader and a story. You are the observer, the story is the object. You are safe. The characters are in danger.
Right.
This book explicitly argues that by observing the story, you are participating in the danger.
Which brings us to the prelude. Before we even get to chapter 1, before we meet Detective Danny Hughes, there is this prayer.
It's an invocation. It calls upon St. Michael the Archangel and St. Raphael.
I wrote this down because it genuinely gave me chills. It says, "In these words I conjure the great darkness, that all who open them must look upon themselves and tremble." And then it asks the saints to contain what is inside the pages.
That's the key word, contain.
Right. Usually a reader beware intro is a gimmick. It's R.L. Stine, it's, oh, spooky stuff ahead.
Right, a bit of fun.
But this felt different. It felt like a hazmat label.
It frames the book as a cage. The implication is that the narrative isn't just a story about evil. It is a container for evil.
A seal.
A seal.
Yeah.
And by opening the book, or in our case, by doing a deep dive into the book, we are breaking that seal.
When you put it that way, I really wish we had picked a different topic for this week.
Too late now. We're in it.
We are in it. And that brings me to the core fear I had reading this. It wasn't the gore, and there's plenty of gore. We'll get to the hanging bodies later.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't the monsters. It was this creeping suspicion that the book is a ritual, that it requires a reader to function.
You're talking about the weaponization of the fourth wall.
Exactly. There is this theory woven into the text that the characters are trapped in a hell that is sustained by our attention, by us looking at them. So I have to ask you, and I'm asking this seriously, are we making it worse? By broadcasting this to thousands of listeners, are we feeding the thing this book warns against?
That is the central tension of Rootraces. It demands you ask, what is the cost of observation? In quantum physics, we know that observing a particle changes its state.
Right, the observer effect.
This book argues that observing suffering crystallizes it. It makes it real.
Okay. That is terrifying. But to understand why that's terrifying, we can't just stay in the clouds. We have to look at the trap itself. We have to go to ground level.
Agreed. We need to understand the architecture of the prison before we can talk about the escape.
So let's drop into the setting. We are in a version of Dallas, Texas. But this isn't the Dallas, It's not cowboys and oil money.
No. It's a city in a state of advanced spiritual decay. The first thing you notice in the text is the physics of the place. They feel wrong.
It's the weather that got me. It rains constantly. But the description isn't just, it was a dark and stormy night.
Not at all.
Listen to this description from the protagonist's partner, Jacob. He holds his hand out into the rain and he says, "You feel it hit and then it's gone, like it wasn't ever there."
That's a massive clue right in the first chapter. It suggests a simulation or a reality that is failing to render correctly.
It's a glitch.
It's a sensory hallucination. The world isn't solid.
And the storms aren't just for mood. They're camouflage.
Right. The text mentions that hurricanes are used as cover for occult activities. The noise of the storm hides the noise of the rituals. It's a practical utility for the antagonists.
Okay, so let's talk about our eyes and ears in this world. We're following Detective Danny Hughes. And on the surface, he is the biggest cliche in the book.
A walking trope.
He's the exhausted, cynical cop. He drinks alone. He hates the system.
He is an archetype.
Okay.
But I think that's intentional. He's a stock character. In a metafiction sense, he's barely holding on to his existence.
Okay.
He's haunted by a past failure involving a woman named Carlene. He sees the world as a rigged game.
And then there's his partner, Jacob. Jacob is complicated.
Jacob is the realist, or maybe the collaborator. He's deeply compromised by the system.
Right.
But what I found fascinating about Jacob are his superstitions. He knows the world is supernatural, but he treats it like standard police work.
The sun water.
Yes, he dabs sun water on his neck.
Which is such a weird detail. He says it's protection against hollow points.
Right. Hollow point bullets.
So immediately the book is telling us ballistics and magic. Same thing here. You don't wear a Kevlar vest, you wear a spell.
It establishes the rules of engagement. But the real horror of this world, the thing that I think is the most biting social commentary in the entire manuscript, is how crime is consumed.
Oh, God. You're talking about the overpass scene.
The overpass scene. Walk us through that.
Okay, so Danny and Jacob are driving. Typical noir drive.
Yeah.
Windshield wipers going. They hit a traffic jam. And usually a traffic jam means an accident.
Sure.
But people aren't just slowing down to look. They're stopping. They're getting out of their cars.
And they're taking photos.
Danny looks up, and hanging from the underpass are 5 bodies, strung up with industrial cable. And below them, someone has scrawled this graffiti: "Hell is shaped like a woman."
Which is gruesome enough on its own. It's a tableau of terror.
Right. But that's not the part that made me sick. The part that made me sick was Jacob's reaction. He doesn't call for backup. He doesn't scream. He pulls out his phone. And we get introduced to TRAGIX.
TRAGIX. Real-time tragedy.
Tell me this didn't remind you of Twitter. Or X. Or whatever we're calling it now.
It's worse. It's like if Twitter and a betting market like Polymarket had a baby, and that baby was a sociopath.
Okay, explain how TRAGIX works in the book.
So it's an app that gamifies active crime scenes. When an event happens, a murder, a suicide, a fire, the market opens. Users can bet on the variables.
Like what?
Is it a homicide? Is it a suicide? What caliber weapon was used? How long until the coroner arrives?
It's prop betting on human suffering.
Precisely.
Huh.
And Jacob, a police officer, is addicted to it. He's sitting there staring at these dead human beings hanging from a bridge, and he's checking his potential payout.
I just...
The text explicitly mentions the numbers flashing on the screens of the drivers around them. Plus $186.33, plus $92.01.
And the icon, the app's logo. Tell them the logo.
A cracked piggy bank.
That detail messed me up more than the bodies. A cracked piggy bank, it's so playful, it's aesthetic, it takes this horrific visceral trauma and turns it into a cute little user interface.
It's the commodification of empathy. It turns suffering into content and content into currency.
It's gamified grief.
And you mentioned earlier that the book feels like a ritual. This is the first layer of that ritual. The people in this city are trapped in an economy of pain.
There's a line describing Jacob in that moment. Guilt and adrenaline tangled behind his eyes. He knows it's wrong. He's a cop. He should be cutting them down.
But he can't.
But the dopamine hit of the win, the gamble, it overrides the morality.
Think about the implications of that for a second. If you can bet on a murder, you have a financial incentive for the murder to be interesting.
Right.
You have an incentive for it to be violent. If it's just a boring heart attack, you lose money. If it's a grisly serial killer, you win big.
So the population of the city is actively rooting for horror.
They are incentivizing the narrative to get worse.
Yeah.
This connects back to the fourth wall idea. If the audience wants blood, the stage provides blood.
And Danny refuses to play.
That is his defining character trait. In a world of gamblers, he is the witness. He stares at the bodies, he tracks the details, the cable lengths, the spacing, but he refuses to look at the numbers.
He's trying to stay clean.
He's the only one trying to see the reality while everyone else is looking at the scoreboard.
But it's costing him. He's exhausted. There's that moment where he makes a finger gun to his head. He's barely holding on.
And that exhaustion is crucial because in the metaphysics of Rootraces, Low energy makes you vulnerable. It
Yeah.
makes you food.
Okay, let's pivot to that. Because this isn't just capitalism run amok. It's not just, oh, society is bad. There is a physics to this suffering. We start seeing references to the black sun and something called Loosh.
Right. This is where we shift genres. We move from noir into Gnostic horror.
Gnostic horror. Define that for me. I think we've touched on it before, but for anyone new to the concept, break it down.
So Gnosticism is a collection of ancient religious ideas, but the core tenet relevant here is the belief that the material world, the world we can touch and see, is a trap.
A prison.
A cosmic prison. It wasn't created by the true God. It was created by a false god, often called the demiurge, to imprison our spirits. In Rootraces, Blake takes this theological concept and makes it literal. The antagonists, the Scarlet Council, the mayor, Don Ramon, they aren't just corrupt politicians skimming tax money. They are archons. They are harvesting energy.
And that energy is Loosh. Now, I looked this up to see if the author invented it, and he didn't, right? Loosh is actually a term from Robert Monroe.
It is. Robert Monroe was a pioneer in consciousness research, specifically out-of-body experiences.
Right, the gateway process stuff.
Exactly. In his journeys, he described encountering entities that feed on the emotional energy of humans. Specifically, intense emotional energy. Pain, fear, grief, anxiety. In the book, Blake takes this concept and makes it industrial.
Distilled grief. There's a scene later in the book where the process is described and it's stomach churning. It says, the shattered are fed to the black sun. And that pain isn't just wasted. It's packed into crystalline vials and sold.
Sold as light. Sold as power.
That's the kicker. In the city, if you want your lights to turn on, someone has to suffer. If you want the bus to run, someone has to grieve. The infrastructure runs on trauma.
It's a closed thermodynamic system of misery. And this explains why the city is the way it is, why the weather is bad, why the crime is high, why TRAGIX exists.
It's a farm.
The city is a farm.
A factory farm.
And the crops are people having bad days or terrible days.
It makes me think about the TRAGIX app again. If the city is a farm for suffering, then TRAGIX is just fertilizer.
It's an efficiency mechanism.
Yeah.
By getting the population to observe and emotionally invest in the tragedy, you amplify the energy.
It creates a feedback loop.
Exactly. A standard murder generates X amount of loosh. A murder that is live streamed to 1 million people who are betting on it, that generates 1,000X.
Which leads us to the Salamanca casino. Because if you're going to harvest luck and chance and misery, where else would you go?
The Salamanca, an opulent golden nightmare. Danny and Jacob go there, but not to play slots.
No. Mac, the guy who runs it, who I pictured as this terrifying, slick mobster type, calls it a great lodge of chance and reward.
But then we see the boxing match.
Palmer versus Martin, too smooth.
This scene was electric and horrifying. Because Martin, he wakes up.
He realizes the fight isn't a sport. He looks at the crowd.
He realizes it's a ritual. He looks at the crowd and he sees that their applause is not natural.
What does that mean, not natural?
It's synchronized. They aren't cheering because they're happy. They're cheering because they are programmed to extract the energy of the violence.
So Martin decides to break the script. He refuses to throw the fight.
And by doing so, he disrupts the harvest. He realizes this is an ancient debt being called in. The horror here is the realization that his free will is an illusion, or at least an obstacle to the powers that be.
And when he wins, or rather when he survives on his own terms, the vibe in the casino shifts instantly. The neon lights turn burgundy.
The text is very specific about that color. Not red, not fire, but burgundy.
Why burgundy? What's the significance?
Think about it. What is burgundy? It's the color of dried blood. It's not the fresh, oxygenated red of life. It's the color of old violence, of stagnation.
That is awful, and the party turns into a slaughter. But what got me was Danny's reaction, or rather, his observation. He points out that the crowd reacts like programmed extras.
This hints at the simulation aspect again. If the crowd is programmed, who is the programmer?
Right.
And more importantly, who is the audience?
Yeah.
Because if the people in the casino are the extras, then Danny is the lead. And we...
Don't say it. Not yet. I want to hold on to my denial for a few more minutes.
Fair enough. But we have to address the programmer. We meet one of the administrators, Jave. This image, I'm going to have nightmares about this. He's depicted as a bleeding figure in a sanctum. He's bleeding into the glyphs. He is feeding the system with his own blood. And he says, every time I build a world, I watch it turn me into a monster. That is the tragedy of the demiurge. He's trapped by his own creation. He's not necessarily doing this out of pure malice, but out of a twisted necessity to keep the system running.
He's a prisoner, too.
He has to feed the glyphs, or the story stops.
But moving where? That's the question Danny keeps asking. And to find the answer, he has to go down, literally down, into the sewers.
The descent into the underworld. A classic hero's journey trope. Orpheus, Dante.
Except in Rootraces, the underworld smells like old copper and wet fur. This is section 3 in our notes, and honestly, I felt like I needed a shower after reading this part.
It's very visceral.
Danny goes into the sewers to find Hothead.
Hothead is a tragic villain. He lives in this sickly green light.
And the entity, Melancholia. It's described as this living slime or mist that feeds on depression. And Hothead, he doesn't control it.
No. The guide explains he speaks for it. It's a really potent analogy for severe mental illness.
Oh, so?
The idea that you don't control the depression colonizes you. It wears you like a suit. It's like cells controlling a body.
The statues were the jump scare moment for me here. There are statues of Hothead in the sewer, and when Danny looks at them, they are serene. But when he looks away, or looks back too long, they morph. They have toothy grins.
It's quantum horror. It's the weeping angels from Doctor Who, but darker. The observation changes the state of the object.
And the alligators. We can't forget the alligators. Silk Perry sends his men into the sewers, and they just get absolutely torn apart. Ancient, rot-streaked alligators.
It's brutal nature reclaiming the artificial city. But Hothead's monologue is what elevates this scene. He asks Danny, you ever watch a house burn close enough that you feel your lashes curl?
He talks about the seduction of destruction, why people stare at car crashes, why Jacob stares at the hanging bodies. Hothead represents that urge to just let it all burn, to give up.
Which is a very dangerous urge in a world built on Loosh, because that destruction feeds the very things enslaving them. If you burn a house down, the black sun gets a feast.
Okay, so we have the setting, the villains, the mechanism of suffering. But now we have to talk about the part that made me want to stop reading. This is the part that kept me up last night. The fourth wall breaks.
Section 4. This is where the book shifts from noir to meta-horror.
It starts subtle, just a feeling of being watched, like when you're in a room alone and the hair on your neck stands up.
Right.
But then Danny confronts Don Ramon, and Don Ramon just tells him.
He shatters the illusion. The fog of the dream buckles. Ramon says, I am not from here. Different book, different world. You're being read.
You're being read. That line, it reverses the relationship. Usually I'm the active one, right? I picked up the book, I'm doing the reading. The book is just ink and paper.
Right.
But Ramon says Danny is the object. And the reader, you, the listener, we are the force acting on them.
Ramon explains it through mentalism and the all is mind. He says the reader imagines both of them. And here's the kicker. Once Danny realizes this, the gate opens.
The gate.
The realization of his fictional nature is the key to the magic.
But it gets worse. Silk Perry. Silk is this terrifying, dreadlocked warlord figure.
Very terrifying.
There's a scene where he's in a confession booth, and the text describes him looking over his shoulder.
Not at the priest. Not at the wall.
At us. At the reader. The text says, his eyes met yours. No surprise in them, just certainty.
That is such a deeply unsettling moment. It's like being at the zoo, looking at a tiger behind the glass, and suddenly the tiger stops eating, walks right up to the glass, and locks eyes with you.
Yes.
And you realize the glass isn't as thick as you thought.
I physically flinched. I felt seen. I felt caught, like I was a peeping Tom.
You were. We all are.
And then there's the subplot with Tony B. This poor guy, Tony B., is being hunted by shadow people during a blackout. It's a standard horror chase scene. He's running, he's panting, the shadows are gaining.
And then he stops. He realizes there is no escape within the story. The narrative demands he gets caught.
So what does he do?
He turns to the only place outside the story.
He pleads with the reader. He breaks character and says, are you there? Are you stuck? If you're real, do something. Help me. Look away.
Look away. That is the crucial instruction.
Because if we look away, he ceases to exist. Or the suffering stops.
The implication is that our attention maintains the reality. We are the battery. As long as we are reading about Tony B being hunted, Tony B is being hunted.
Oh, man.
If we close the book, the shadow people stop. Our curiosity is his torture.
That is messed up. It makes me the villain.
It makes you the god of that universe, and a cruel one because you refused to stop the entertainment. You kept reading, didn't you?
Yeah. I had to finish the section.
Exactly. Even though he begged you to stop, you kept watching. That is the Loosh. That is the harvest.
Need a second to process that. Okay, so we are the battery. But inside the story, there are characters trying to hack this system. We need to talk about Mirandola.
The technosis element. Mirandola is a hacker, but in this world, hacking code and hacking reality are the same thing.
He has this laptop that types back to him, "Do you consent?" It's Teen Ann.
Yep.
And his hand types "you" before his brain even agrees.
He enters the server cathedral. This is such a vivid image. A data center, but it's made of copper and bone. Fans spinning like wind chimes for the dead.
And he becomes root-bound. His fingers turn into hex code. He sees mathematical spiders.
The spiders are fixing deviations in reality. They're the antibodies of the simulation.
The antivirus.
Precisely. And Mirandola sees the Planck algorithm, a vein crawling up a spider's leg. It's the blending of biology and math.
What is the point of Mirandola's journey? Is he trying to crash the server?
He's trying to get root access. Hence the title, Rootraces. He wants to see the code behind the world so he can rewrite it.
Right.
He understands that the city, the suffering, the Loosh Horpen, it's all a program. And if it's a program, it can be exploited.
Digital Gnosticism.
Exactly. The Gnostics believed the material world was a trap. Mirandola believes that digital material world is a server run by a corrupt admin, and he wants the admin password.
But the admin, or the reader, is watching,
Always.
Leading us to the climax. The opera house. Danny gets dropped into the surreal opera. And the audience.
Ghosts, demons, plague masks.
Yeah.
And they are watching him.
He's the show.
He is the show.
The stage has this lotus flower made of crystal, and it blooms. But the petals aren't petals. They are scenes from Danny's life.
His trauma on display. The mock lynching he witnessed. The gambling, the murders.
And the audience applauds. They clap for his trauma. The text says, "The lies were cleaner."
This is the ultimate Loosh harvest. Danny's life is consumed as entertainment by these entities. He is the main attraction.
And I couldn't help but feel, are we the audience in the masks?
Of course we are. We bought the book. We're consuming his drama right now. The demons in the opera house are just reflections of us.
Oh, God. Then comes the trial. Gadriel, the infernal lawyer, brings out the Crimson Ledger.
This part is fascinating legalese, the Daniel Clause. They start converting weapons to evidence.
What does that mean?
They're adjudicating Danny's soul based on alignment, not morality.
That's a terrifying distinction. It doesn't matter if you were good. It matters if you fit the pattern.
And then we learn the truth about Carlene, the woman Danny has been grieving, the woman he failed.
She is the city.
Literally, highways etched into her arms. If she is freed, the city dies.
Why?
Because the city is built on her suffering. She is the foundation of the simulation.
It's the Amala's dilemma, the Ursula K. Le Guin story where the perfect city depends on one child's suffering in a basement.
Exactly. So Danny has a choice. Save the girl, destroy the world, or let the world exist and let her suffer forever.
So what does he do? What's the choice?
He chooses to witness. He chooses to see it all. But the ending doesn't give us a clean resolution.
No, it gives us a loop. And this is the part that, quite frankly, broke my brain. The book Rootraces appears inside the story.
A red ring touches the book, a seal, and then a sound.
A baby crying. A sound that isn't laughter, but a baby crying.
And Danny opens the book. Chapter 1. He is back at the shattered house from the beginning. Rain.
He's back at the start. It's a loop.
It's a loop because the book could be reread.
Oh, God.
Think about the mechanics of a novel. When you finish the last page, Danny is standing there. But what happens when you lend that book to a friend? Or when you decide to reread it next year?
You open it to page 1.
And Danny wakes up in chapter 1. He has to do it all again.
He has to lose Carlene again. He has to see the hanging bodies again.
He is trapped not by the Scarlet Council, but by the physical nature of the book itself.
Wow.
The baby crying is the sound of the narrative being born again. The birth trauma of the story restarting.
So the ritual in the prelude, it wasn't for the characters, it was for us.
The text explicitly says, once you see the veil, you become part of it. By reading the ending and seeing the loop, you have closed the circuit. You have ensured that Danny Hughes walks into that rain again.
That brings me back to my fear at the beginning. If the characters know we are reading and they feed on observation, did we just feed them?
For an hour.
Did we just feed them for an hour?
We spent the last hour dissecting their pain. We analyzed the Loosh. We marveled at the TRAGIX app. In a way, we behaved exactly like the audience in the opera house. We watched the lotus bloom, and we clapped.
I feel sick. I actually feel nauseous.
It raises the question of narrative responsibility. We tend to think of fiction as safe, a sandbox. But Rootraces argues that imagination is an act of creation, and therefore an act of culpability.
Culpability.
If you imagine a man suffering, are you causing it?
The shadow people, in Tony B's section. They leached off emotion, they followed the gamblers. Are we the shadow people?
From Tony B's perspective, yes. We are the invisible watchers who crave the story of his demise. If we didn't crave it, he wouldn't exist.
I don't want to be the shadow person.
And then you have to do what Tony B asked.
Look away.
Look away.
But we can't. We're doing a podcast about it. We're broadcasting the signal to thousands of people. Everyone listening to this right now. They are observing Danny too. We're amplifying the observation.
Which means, if the internal logic of the book is true, we just powered up the server. We just gave the Black Sun a massive feast.
I think I need to stop.
It's an effective horror device. It lingers.
No, I mean, I really feel like I need to stop talking about this. I feel like the room is getting smaller.
Okay.
There was a line at the end. Don Ramon said, "The gate opens, and I leave."
Yes. When the reader realizes the truth, the gate opens.
I don't want the gate to be open. I'm going to close the book now. Physically, I'm closing it.
Probably for the best.
And I'm not going to open it again.
Until the next reader comes along.
Don't say that. Just look away. Everybody just look away.
The gate opens, and I leave.
End the recording. Seriously. Got it.